Hi, I'm Dan and welcome to Airbrush Garage. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. All right, today I'm going to be showing you my way on how I do metal tears. Now, I prefer this technique that you see right here, and what I mean by that is the colors I use. I use a gray-blue mixture for this particular technique, as you see in this one here, and on the one back there in the Joker. That is what I prefer, but I am going to show you just real quick, or just touch upon how you can also do it with a silver base and some black and white. Okay, so there's different techniques that you can do, but I'm going to be showing you mainly this technique today. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. Give me a couple comments, good or bad. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, help build this channel. Hit that bell so you get future notifications. Thumbs up would be great. Don't forget to check out all those Amazon affiliate links down below for the products I use in this video and all my other videos. And with that, let's get started. All right, so I got my 12 by 18 aluminum panel here. Happened to pick this one up at a Sign Supply. I like to buy a lot of that type of stuff off of Sign Supplies. I'll pop a link down below for where I got this one. First thing you want to do is take off your protective covering that's on a sign panel. You know, that little thin piece of film. I say that because, believe it or not, when I first got started, I've left it on and realized I never took it off. So, all right, so once you get that off, next thing you want to do is, you can see this surface is shiny. Well, you don't want to be painting on anything shiny. You always want to knock that sheen down. You're going to bring back that nice shine later with a clear coat. So I use a scuffing pad. This one here is a smoothing pad. There's all different brands out there. I'll pop a link down below, to some scuffing pads. But basically for this, what you want is a smoothing pad. You don't want anything that's really rough. You just want to be able to knock the shine off of that surface. And you want to make sure you get all the way to the edges. All right, so before we tape up anything, I'm going to be using a pre-prep, basically is what I call it, a multi-purpose foaming prep cleaner. Get this in my local auto store. There's plenty of cleaners out there. I just happen to really, really like this one. All right, the next step is I'm going to be using 12-inch transfer tape to cover the entire panel. All right, I drew this up off a camera and I also cut it out. I didn't want to bore you with those steps, but I will explain to you what my thought process was. So when you're doing torn metal, whether it be a big tear or a narrow tear, you're pulling the metal apart. So it's obviously going to be wider at the center, thinner on the ends. I call them two end points, or start point. Either way, okay? It doesn't have to be totally symmetrical. It can be, but metal tears are very random. So again, symmetry, as far as the tears go, is not important. One thing I'd like to say about the metal tears is I like to put, as I'm doing the folds, or if I want the tear to look like it's wavy, I like to put these little arcs in here. So as you'll see, this will make more sense when I'm painting it, where the highlights will be, and this will make it look like it's rolling up and down. Now, the other thing is I took the time to cut this out off a camera again. You really got to get used to cutting transfer tape if you're going to be doing this type of work. But this video is not about cutting transfer tape. If you want to see the video on how to cut transfer tape, I'll pop a card up above. I have a complete video on that. But if you are going to be doing any kind of motorcycle work or car work and you're going to be using transfer tape, it is super imperative that you learn how to cut this transfer tape. I will tell you, you need a super sharp blade and a really light touch, and it takes a lot of practice. But head on over to that video if you haven't watched that first, before you attempt anything like this, and learn how to cut your transfer tape. So with that said, next what we're going to do is we're going to weed out the center here, and we're going to be using this weeding tool. And this weeding tool is a vinyl weeding tool. It's imperative that you have one of these. You really don't want to use an X-Acto blade, because if you try to get underneath the tape with the X-Acto blade, you're definitely going to scratch the surface. With the weeding tool, that won't happen. I mean, it still can, but you got to be careful. But this weeding tool is made not to do that. So it's great for vinyl, obviously, and it's really great for transfer tape as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the center and we're going to spray it black. Once we do that and it dries fully, we'll come back, we'll cover the center back up, and then we'll take out the tears. So let's get started. Now I will say, when you're peeling off this transfer tape, you want to peel it down over itself. You don't want to try to pull up on it. And if you have any spots that may need a little help yet, I would rather be too light on the tape or the cut than too heavy where you're cutting into the surface. But again, you want to take and you want to peel this back on itself. All right, so I got my Iwata Eclipse HPCS 0.35 needle nozzle combination filled up with Wicked Jet Black. If any of you guys watched my videos before, you know I use Createx paints. And I have it reduced with about 10 to 20% of 4011 reducer. So we're going to build this up in light layers until we get it all saturated in black. All right, now we've got that all painted in and it's all dried up. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the transfer tape that I took out of here and I'll put it back in and I'll replace it. Well, sometimes that doesn't work out. So I'm going to show you another method that I do, and this is some 1/8" fine line tape. And you're just going to tape it all up and around, and then we're going to put some transfer tape back in. The key to this is you want to make sure that you actually don't go too far over, because you'll wind up having a white strip. You're better off having a little bit of black if you get it as close as you can, but you're better off having a little bit of black here. That will be better for you than being over. And when you take the tape off, what you're going to do is you're going to create a white spot underneath there, and you don't want that. All right, so the cool part about this tape is, I'll put a link for it down below. This is K-tape. It's fine line tape, basically. It's a vinyl fine line tape. Not only is it very flexible, but what's really cool about doing a technique like this is if you were to overlap onto the transfer tape, you would actually be able to see it. It would actually be a little raised. You'd be able to see it through that tape, which is really cool. All right, so now once we have that done, we're just going to come back in and put a piece of transfer tape on this, and then we'll remove our tears. All right, now we're just going to take our X-Acto and we're just going to cut down along the orange tape. Again, not real hard. You don't want to be cutting through that orange tape. You just want to be cutting the transfer tape. All right, so as I mentioned, there's a couple different ways, people do torn metal. I do them with a silver base with black and white highlights, where basically black is for the lull, white for the highlight. What I'm going to show you next is the one I really like the most. And what you're going to need is 1 drop of blue and some gray. Okay, so what I did was I mixed up about 1/3 of my cup in my Iwata HPCS, same size cup as the Eclipse. About 1/3 of a cup of the gray and 1 drop of the blue. Now I'm going to spray some of this here, and then when I get to the gray, I'm going to spray it next to it so you can see the difference. So you can see that there, and then when we get to the gray, because the colors we're going to be using along with this gray-blue mixture is black and white. Before I get started doing anything with that gray-blue, as far as the base goes, I'm just going to dust over this with black, just to give it a little bit of coverage. And you're not going to go too crazy with this at all, just a light dusting, because you don't want to darken up that gray-blue mixture. Just a light dusting like that. All right, so let's get started filling it in with the gray-blue mixture. And again, you want to build this up in light coats. You don't want to go too heavy too soon or too quick. Okay, now we're going to come in with that gray. And hopefully you can see the difference here, and I'm sure you can, the difference between the gray and the gray-blue. And I'm going to use this gray, and I'm going to use this gray where the highlight is actually going to go. It's going to be a gray first, and then the highlight's going to go over the gray. So you got to pick out where you want your highlight. And in my case, I want the highlight, as this rolls here, I want the highlight to be on top of these rolls. And then we're going to come back in on each side with the black to create the valleys. All right, now once we got that gray on, I'm going to come in with a white highlight. I got some white loaded up in my Neo for Iwata airbrush. And by the way, I did a review on this airbrush. Absolutely love this airbrush for the price, $60. You can't beat it. Go check out the review. I'll pop a card above. One of my new favorite airbrushes. I can't believe this brush for the price. Can't say enough about it. What a smooth brush. All right, well, we're going to come in with the black again. I'm going to go back and forth with the black and the white a few times. And now you got your highlight, so that's going to be the top of your, your roll. And now you're going to want some black in along the side of it to give it the deep valley. Keep it soft, keep it light. Now I'm going to want to spray off just around the tape because to me that's the darkest part. You're going to want that to roll up this way. I'm going to give it a light dusting with the black. All right, hopefully you can see what I was doing there. I was going back and forth with the black and the white, and sometimes coming in with the gray, but basically just building up my highlights and my valleys. Okay, so you can kind of get like a ripple effect or a roll. So let's take this tape off and see what we got. All right, so now you have an opportunity. Now that you've seen what it looks like, if you're happy with it or you want to clean it up a little bit here and there, you know, it just depends on what you want. So, I mean, I'd say this is good enough to call it a day, but I'm going to just highlight a little bit here. I'm going to do a little touching up here, and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, one last thing we got to do is put some drop shadows on here. You just want to be, mindful of where your light source is coming from. You know, if it's coming this way, it's going to cast your shadow everything on this side. You know, straight down, it may cast your shadow everywhere. Now, just really be mindful of where you want your light source to be coming from. So in this case, I think I'm going to have my light source coming down from here. So all my shadows are going to appear on the underside here. So here we go. Now you want to keep this really light. Well, all right, there you have it. My take on how to do torn metal. There's a couple different ways you can do torn metal. Like I said before, you can use a silver base with black and white for your, highlights and your lows, like you see here, or you could do your gray-blue mixture and your white and black and gray as you see here, just like the one we did today. You'll also see it back here on the Joker. Again, that is the gray-blue mixture. Like I said, I happen to like that one the best. It's just a little bit lighter of a color usually. I think it represents metal a little bit better than just the silver and black and gray mix. So with that, I hope you picked something up from this video today. If you did, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell so you get future notifications. A thumbs up would be great. A couple comments, good or bad, you know the drill. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to check out all those Amazon affiliate links down below for the products I use in this video and all my other videos. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.